The summer of 2024 brought significant changes to the Swedish royal family as Princess Madeleine and her husband ONeill made the decision to return to Sweden after many years spent in the United States. For most, this was an unexpected turn, especially given that for 50-year-old ONeill, life away from the public eye seemed like the ideal solution. However, since their return to Stockholm, it has become clear that not everyone is pleased with this decision. Questions about how ready Chris is for life in Sweden and how well the family will adapt to the new conditions are being raised not only by the public but also by members of the royal family itself. ONeill joined the Swedish royal family in 2013 after marrying Princess Madeleine. From the very beginning, his relationship with the monarchy was complicated. As a man who grew up in London and became a successful businessman, Chris never showed a desire to participate in royal affairs. He made a conscious decision not to take a title in order to maintain his independence and avoid the constant obligations that come with being a member of the royal family. Life in Florida with his wife and 3 children seemed comfortable for ONeill. It was a balance between private life and minimal involvement in public activities. However, the decision to move back to Sweden has presented Chris with new challenges. Returning to his wife's homeland has changed the established rhythm of their lives, drawing the attention of both the Swedish media and the royal family. How many assume that the return was motivated by Princess Madeleine's desire for their children to be raised in Swedish traditions and receive an education in their homeland? Princess Leonor, Prince Nicholas, and Princess Adrian now live surrounded by Swedish culture and traditions, and perhaps this was a key factor in the move. Nevertheless, the question remains, how easily will ONeill adjust to life in a different country and a new social environment? For him, life in Sweden will likely mean more public scrutiny and higher expectations of participating in royal life. Among the royal family members, there are those who are skeptical about ONeill's move to Sweden. Princess Bergetta, the 87-year-old sister of King Carl Gustaf, expressed her doubts about how Chris would cope with this new life in an interview with the Swedish magazine Expressen. As someone who stepped away from royal duties many years ago to lead an independent life, Bergetta is particularly sensitive to the situation. "I don't understand how he will cope with this," Bergetta said, speaking about her brother-in-law. She, more than anyone, understands the challenges of living in the shadow of monarchy. The princess called royal life a golden cage and admitted that she once made the right decision by leaving it. Bergetta also noted that her niece, Princess Madeleine, will likely handle life in Sweden well, but she has serious doubts about ONeill. As is well known, Bergetta has lived on Mallorca for many years, and her lifestyle, away from royal duties, seems ideal to her. In one of her interviews, she confessed that she does not regret her choice to live an independent life and does not wish to return to either Sweden or Munich, where she was born. Her remarks about the golden cage suggest that she sees royal life as a privilege, but one with restrictions that are not to everyone's liking. This underscores her opinion that ONeill may not be ready for the restrictions and expectations that could accompany life in Sweden. Princess Madeleine's decision to return to her homeland has sparked discussions in society and prompted a wave of criticism. Many claim that the princess does not participate actively enough in the life of the royal family, and that her return suggests the need for a reassessment of her role in Sweden's public life. Particular attention has been paid to her role as the patron of the Millis Garden Art Museum. Madeleine took on this role back in February 2023, but showed little involvement while living in Florida. Only after her return to Sweden did the princess finally visit the museum located just outside Stockholm. The museum's director, Therese Dillon, confirmed that up until that point the princess had never made an official visit. This situation drew negative reactions, with the Swedish portal Stoppapersarna even calling it Madeleine's latest job fiasco. Princess Madeleine's role as patron is considered important for the institution. According to the museum's director, she can help build connections with foundations and benefactors that support the museum. Some circles expected that her involvement would increase once she returned, and her recent visit may have been a response to those expectations. In her Instagram account, Madeleine posted photos from the museum and expressed her gratitude for the interesting and pleasant visit, which may signal her intention to become more involved in Sweden's cultural life. Returning to Sweden forces Chris ONeill to reflect on how prepared he is for the changes that inevitably come with living in Sweden. In a 2018 interview with King magazine, ONeill openly admitted that he was not born for royal life. His father, Paul ONeill, was a man who built a career through his hard work and was dedicated to his family, not tied to monarchy. Chris himself emphasized that he married Madeleine not to become part of the royal family but to support his wife. Now that Madeleine and Chris are living in Sweden again, ONeill faces a choice: either adapt to this new life or continue resisting royal duties. Princess Bergetta voiced her concern about how Chris would handle the pressure that life at court imposes. It's possible that this concern is shared by many Swedes who wonder how long Chris ONeill can remain on the sidelines of royal obligations while avoiding them. Moving to Sweden may open new opportunities for the family, but it also creates new challenges. Despite the criticism, Princess Madeleine is striving to demonstrate that she is ready to be more actively involved in her homeland's life. However, the question of how her husband will proceed remains. As their children adapt to Swedish schools and new living conditions, Chris may have to adapt to life in the royal family, a role he has long tried to avoid. The return of Princess Madeleine and Chris ONeill to Sweden marks the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one that has brought with it many questions and expectations. Madeleine is trying to re-enter the rhythm of royal duties, but her husband faces even greater challenges. Despite his desire to remain out of the public eye, he will have to find a balance between private life and the demands of the royal family. Will this stage be successful, or will the family face new difficulties? Will Chris ONeill continue to stay away from public life, or will he find his place in the royal environment? The answers to these questions remain uncertain. One thing is clear: this new stage in the lives of Madeleine and Chris will not go unnoticed, either by the royal family or the Swedish public.